I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're
a look.
trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It began with a simple login. A quiet morning in Texas, another day in the era of virtual courtrooms where hearings happen through glowing rectangles on screens. But one attorney would make this ordinary session unforgettable. His name was Rod Ponton, a seasoned lawyer who'd handled serious civil cases before. On this particular day, he joined a civil forfeiture hearing over Zoom, borrowing his secretary's computer to attend. The camera switched on. The microphones came to life, and what the judge saw was something no law school could ever prepare you for: a fluffy, wide-eyed kitten nervously blinking back at the court. The attorney began to speak, but the voice didn't match the face on screen. "Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings," said Judge Roy Ferguson, his tone steady, but the corners of his mouth fighting not to smile.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're
a look.
trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It
The
is.
other lawyers froze, caught between disbelief and laughter. Ponton's cat avatar moved as he did, ears twitching, eyes darting. His confusion was palpable. He fumbled with his mouse, voice rising slightly as he tried to fix the mistake. "I'm prepared to go forward with it," he said nervously. Then came the line that would echo across the internet. "I'm here live. I'm not a cat." The judge took a breath, managing to respond simply, "I can see that." What followed was one of the most viral courtroom clips of all time. Judge Ferguson later shared it himself, captioning it as an important tip to always check your Zoom filters before logging into court. But behind the humor was a snapshot of a historic transition, the judiciary adapting to a new digital age, where human error meets technology in front of millions. Ponton later explained what had happened in interviews. He wasn't tech-savvy. His secretary's daughter had last used the computer for a virtual class, leaving the cat filter on, embarrassed but good-natured. He owned the mistake. "I didn't know these filters even existed," he admitted, adding that his career had been filled with serious cases, none of which had ever made him a household name like this. Even the judge admitted later that he had turned off his camera during the call to hide his reaction. "Neither admit nor deny that I had a straight face," Ferguson joked. The clip became an unexpected moment of levity during a time when virtual courtrooms were often associated with stress, confusion, or tragedy. Ponton's case didn't involve violence or crime. It involved humanity. It reminded millions that even in the solemn halls of justice, people are still people, flawed, awkward, and sometimes accidentally feline. And for one short day, the internet remembered that laughter and law can coexist, even if the lesson begins with a cat. Robert G. If the story of Rod Ponton was a brief moment of laughter in law, the story of Robert G. was its direct opposite, a chilling reminder of what loss looks like when the gavel falls. It was June 26, 2016 in Muskegon, Michigan, when 46-year-old Robert G. arrived at a crowded local bar. He didn't go inside. Instead, he walked through the parking lot until he found a car that wasn't his. With practiced hands, he hotwired it and started the engine. As he tried to flee, the car's owner spotted him. The owner shouted, but it wasn't him who gave chase. It was his younger brother, Jacob Ramo, just 26 years old, who jumped on his motorcycle and sped after the stolen car. Witnesses later described a terrifying pursuit the motorcycle gained on the car. G leaned halfway out the window, arm extended, a handgun in his grip. He fired one bullet. It struck Jacob in the back. The young man fell from his bike, crashing into a nearby yard. In the courtroom, Robert G. sat silent and expressionless while the prosecution laid out the evidence. The prosecutor described how G had hung half his body out the car window, taking deliberate aim before firing. He intended to hit that man on the bike. The prosecutor said. The defense countered with a claim that it was all an accident, that the shooting was happenstance. But witnesses' trajectory analysis and the cold logic of the event said otherwise. The judge was unmoved. G was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. But the story didn't end with the words of the verdict. It ended with the silence that followed. As the judge began to explain the sentence, G's sister in the gallery screamed a sharp, anguished cry that filled the room. Deputies rushed to remove her. And in that moment of chaos, Robert G's body slumped backward. His eyes rolled back, his head tilted, and he appeared to lose consciousness. Deputies ran forward, checking for signs of life, loosening his collar, calling his name. The courtroom stopped breathing for a moment. The judge, still reading the sentencing order, didn't notice at first. Then the deputies lifted G's limp body, leading him from the courtroom, as his sister's cries echoed from the hallway. He regained consciousness moments later, but the symbolism was impossible to miss. A man who had taken another's life now collapsing under the full weight of the law. G's fainting spell didn't change the outcome. His sentence stood life without parole. For Jacob Ramos' family, it wasn't closure, but it was finality. The courtroom was left with the echo of a scream, a body on the floor, and a reminder that justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just heavy.
As you can see, this arrest warrant was signed in December, so the state attorney's office has provided copies of the reports. I would also note that provided.
What happened? What happened?
What just happened?
William Green. In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a courtroom was already crowded when William Green took his seat beside his attorney. He had been charged with assaulting a caregiver at a mental health hospital back in 2019. And this hearing was just another step in a long process of evaluation, defense, and trial. But no one in that room expected that within minutes, Green would turn the quiet proceedings into chaos. The hearing had barely begun. Public defenders stood in a line beside their clients, each waiting for their case to be called. The judge was addressing another defendant, when, without warning, William Green stood up and punched his attorney, Assistant Public Defender Julie Chase, squarely in the head. The blow was so sudden and powerful that Chase fell to the floor instantly. The room erupted. Other attorneys gasped. Deputies shouted. Inmates backed away in disbelief as officers swarmed Green, tackling him to the ground. Even Green looked stunned by what he'd just done, staring wide-eyed as deputies pinned his arms behind his back and dragged him away in cuffs. Julie Chase was taken to the hospital. Fortunately, she survived with only minor injuries, though her composure afterwards spoke volumes. "I didn't expect it," she said quietly to reporters later. "It was just a shock, but the shock waves went beyond that one punch." After the attack, the court issued an immediate change in procedure. Every inmate appearing in that courtroom would now be handcuffed and seated far away from the podium. The bench and the bar had been physically restructured to protect attorneys and staff. What had begun as an assault charge now became a lesson in courtroom safety and a warning about the volatility of those standing trial. Green's actions earned him a second assault charge on top of the one he was already facing. The judge ordered that he be transferred to a secure psychiatric facility under Florida's Baker Act, which allows authorities to detain individuals showing signs of severe mental instability. Their doctors would evaluate whether he was fit to stand trial or whether he needed long-term treatment. The footage of the attack circulated across the country, a shocking, wordless clip showing how quickly a legal proceeding can become a crime scene. For Julie Chase, it was a reminder of the unpredictable danger that comes with representing those accused of violence. For the justice system, it was another case study in how fragile safety is, even in the most controlled environments. William Green's story isn't about a crime committed long ago. It's about one that happened in front of the bench, inside the room built to prevent it. It's about the thin line between order and eruption, and how a single second of rage can change an entire system. 3 men. 3 moments of disruption inside the halls of justice. Rod Ponton gave the world an unexpected laugh when a cat filter replaced his face. Robert G. left the courtroom in silence after taking a young man's life and collapsing beneath his sentence. William Green turned a hearing into an assault, proving that violence doesn't stop at the courtroom door. Together, they reveal the full spectrum of what happens when the human element meets the law. Absurdity, tragedy, and rage all contained within walls, meant to uphold order. Some courtrooms remind us that the system works. Others remind us how close it is to breaking. In each of these stories, you can feel the same undercurrent, no matter the circumstance. The law absorbs it all. The laughter, the grief, the punches. And then it responds with sentences, procedures, and protocols meant to protect what little control we still have over chaos. That is what makes these moments unforgettable. Not because they went viral, but because they exposed something raw and real.